The ill treatment appeared to be widespread and systematic across the country, calling on Tunisian authorities immediately to end impunity for human rights abuses. Well, it is the most comprehensive report yet into what went on during the revolution. There more than 200 people died in the violence, and one of the heaviest death tolls was in a place called Kesserine, a small town in the south of Tunisia. Nazanin Moshiri reports.
Nizar Gariri is a key witness. A gunshot in the groin went straight through him, leaving him permanently disabled. He says it was snipers who fired on him.
They were all in black, with helmets like you see in the movies, like black tigers. You couldn't see their eyes.
This amateur video taken by a protester shows security forces dressed in black on a rooftop. Their uniforms different to riot police and local forces. People here say they may have even been part of a separate militia. Dr. Mahjoub Ghari, head of intensive care at Kesserine's main hospital, examined many of the bodies. He says these were professional killings.
The
shots targeted the brain, the neck, the chest and the stomach. Therefore, these were murders. The bullets used were strange. They blew up inside the body. The corpses have small holes of ½ centimeter, and it becomes practically impossible to save the victim.
This is where many of the deaths happened, the roundabout now known as Martyrs Square. The names and ages of the victims recorded on this monument. This is where one of the snipers was located, on this rooftop with a vantage point across the entire square. It's not clear whether these shooters were part of the Presidential Guard or connected to the Ministry of Interior. What people here want is those responsible found and brought to justice. Tunisia's interim government says its new Human Rights Commission is investigating crimes here in Kesserine and other parts of the country. But so far, no officials have visited the family of Mohamed Amin Mbarki. The 17-year-old was one of the first to die here. Shot in the back of the head, his family say it was an execution.
I want them to be shot like they shot my brother. I want their brains splattered like they splattered my brother's brain. I want those who shot him to be judged in front of us.
Kesserine's secret police headquarters, burnt and looted. Its agents are now long gone. Ben Ali's regime was brutal, but also well organised. As time passes, finding the truth about what happened here will become increasingly difficult. Nazanin Moshiri, AlJazeera, Kesserine.
Further south in Africa, in Zimbabwe, a few people appear to have turned out for a million citizen march there, at which they said they would demand that the President Robert Mugabe step down. In recent days, more than 40 opposition activists have been arrested and charged with treason. They were detained while attending a lecture on North African anti-government protests and have been accused of plotting an Egyptian-style uprising. India has sentenced to death 11 men for an arson attack on a train, which led to massive sectarian riots. Another 20 people were jailed for life. 59 passengers, most of them Hindu, died in the 2002 train fire in Gujarat station. In the violence that followed, when politicians blamed Muslims for sparking the riots, up to 2,000 people died. All suspects are Muslim, and some relatives say they were set up for political reasons. It's been a week in New Zealand since the magnitude 6.3 quake hit the city of Christchurch, and they've been marking that anniversary, observing 2 minutes of silence. More than 150 people from 20 nations have been confirmed to have died, but officials say the death toll might be as high as 240. France's new foreign minister has officially taken up his position. Alain Juppé replaced Michel Alliot-Marie, who was forced to resign following a cabinet shuffle on Sunday. She faced criticism following revelations over holidays she took in Tunisia and her ties with the ousted leader of that country, Zine El Abidine Ben Ali. Germany's defence ministers had to step down after a scandal over his PhD thesis. Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg was stripped of his doctorate last month after a portion of it was found to have been plagiarised. Chancellor Angela Merkel said she accepted his resignation with a heavy heart. Paul Brennan reports.
The suave young Bavarian aristocrat was one of Germany's most popular government ministers and a darling of the country's conservative right. Karl Theodor zu Guttenberg had been tipped as a possible future leader, and he frequently topped opinion polls ahead of his boss Angela Merkel. But his carefully crafted reputation for honesty and integrity was undermined last month by the revelation that as much as 20% of his PhD thesis appeared to have been copied without attribution. Guttenberg has strongly denied deliberate plagiarism and at first tried to ride out the publicity storm. But with the scandal showing no sign of fading, Tuesday's resignation had become inevitable.
I have informed the Chancellor in a very friendly conversation that I am withdrawing from my political offices, and I have requested to be relieved of duty. This is the most painful step of my life. I'm not going only because of my erroneous doctoral thesis, although I understand that would be enough of a reason. The main reason is the question of whether I can still live up to the high requirements I set myself in carrying out my responsibilities.
Angela Merkel's initial support for her defence minister was a risky strategy, no doubt with an eye to securing conservative votes in 3 crucial state elections later this month. But headlines such as Baron Cut and Paste had made Guttenberg more of a hindrance than a help in recent days. And if the university decides Guttenberg plagiarised deliberately, then he could yet be accused of an even more serious offence, of lying to Parliament. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera.
These are the headlines for you here on Al Jazeera. The Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi under increasing pressure, and there are fears about what he might do next. People in the opposition-held town of Nalut say pro-Gaddafi paramilitary forces are on the outskirts, reportedly armed with anti-aircraft guns. In another opposition stronghold, AlZaweera, there are reports that food supplies into the city are being blocked. The United Nations says the number of refugees fleeing violence and chaos in Libya has already topped 140,000. Aid workers are warning that the situation at Libya's border with Tunisia has reached crisis point. The International Organization for Migration says thousands of stranded Vietnamese and Bangladeshi migrants urgently need food, water and shelter. The United States and the United Kingdom are considering establishing no-fly zones over Libya. The US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has said that all necessary options are being considered for that country.
When it comes to Libya, the United States has led the way in imposing very strict sanctions that are finding assets and preventing those assets from going to the Gaddafi family or the Gaddafi leadership. We have also, with our NATO allies and with the Pentagon, begun to look at potential planning, preparedness in the event that we feel it's necessary for both humanitarian and other reasons that there would have to be actions taken.
Tunisia's most prominent opposition politician has quit the country's interim government. The regional development minister, Ahmed Najib Chebi, says he isn't happy with the choice of the newly appointed prime minister. Chebi is the 3rd minister to leave the interim government in one day. Well, one of the main opposition parties in Tunisia has been given permission to participate in politics.